Good afternoon. Always after lunch is hard, isn't it? But we have Stephen Scott among us, and he's the speaker, and he's ready to rock. And actually address a very critical issue in child psychiatry, and I think in human life, which is attachment. So, Stephen, would you start?
Yeah. I'm too tall.
Okay. Can you hear me? So, everybody knows that babies like their mummies and their daddies, and that attachment is important in maybe the first 2 years of life. But it could be that after that, when you go to school, it is the school relationships and other factors, are you bullied or not bullied, that are important. Your teacher. So I want to ask the question, is your attachment important a bit later in life? And does it matter as a concept? Ooh, interesting. So, this picture shows you that attachment does matter because it sells very expensive watches. This Patek Philippe watch costs $10,000 US, and it's a picture of a man having a nice time with his son. And it's all black and white, it is timeless. And the advertisement says you're not buying a watch to look flashy and I am rich. You're buying it for the next generation. So they're using attachment to sell expensive jewelry. So attachment must be important. So you remember John Bowlby, who talked about attachment theory at the Tavistock Clinic. The first time he gave his talk, the other psychoanalysts said, boo, and booed him, because they thought everything was internal, your internal conflict. And he said, no, the outside world. And he said, sensitive responding is the crucial concept. And then over time, with experience of usually your mother to begin with, but your father too, you build up an internal working model. You say, oh yes, my mother will be there for me, even when I'm outside. I have a picture of her comforting me, everything will be good. And then Mary Ainsworth did this funny test, didn't she, where a researcher like me goes in with a baby of 12 or 18 months with the mother, then the mother goes out, which is not very nice. And then the mother comes back in, and if she has sensitive responding, the baby is secure, mummy. But then after a few seconds, okay, I'm okay, I can play and explore the room. That was secure. But if the mother is a bit dismissive, don't pull yourself together, be strong. Then you have these children who do not appear to care for their mother. They are what I call like privately educated Englishmen. No emotion, very stiff upper lip. But actually, when you put a cardiograph on these children, their pulse is going up. They do care, but they don't look as though they care. And then there is the inconsistent mother who has a child who is ambivalent. Where were you, mummy? And they go on being cross with the mother. And so then they do not play with the world because they're preoccupied with that. And then if you have an abusive mother, you see these rather disturbing videos of children who dive under the table or have a disorganized pattern. Nothing they can do is right. There is no way they can cope with the mother or the father. And of course, insecure patterns may lead to aggression because they are not comforted. They don't go, life is all right. They get scratchy and angry, and they do not emotionally regulate their emotions. So that is attachment theory. So my first question is attachment still important? And is good parenting, however you look at it? You know when you go to, in London, McDonald's, and if you find yourself moving away because the mother or father is so horrible, that's bad parenting. It doesn't matter if you look at it through an attachment way or behavioural way, how many times they praise or criticise. And what else does sensitive responding predict other than attachment? So, once you have a child used to going to school, it is not very helpful to separate them from the mother because they're used to that. So then we use representational tasks, and I'm going to show you how we do that. So we will say, Swad is a little girl of 5. Hello, this is the Swad doll. Show us what it is like at home. And I'm going to do some stories now. And you'll see in these stories, it isn't just, oh, do you miss your mummy? You're trying to activate the attachment system. So say, oh, you're very ill, you're feeling desperate, it's so frightening. Show me what happens next. And if she, the SWAT doll says, oh, I go and get my mummy, she gives me a cuddle, everything's all right, then you'd say this is secure. But if she says, no, mother or father are not there for me, that would be insecure. So let me show you a video. Tell me if you think this girl is secure or insecure, if you would.
Those kind of well, it's night time here. This time it's the middle of the night and it's very, very dark and very, very quiet. You just hear some breathing going on. Hannah wakes up. Oh, she says, I had a horrible dream. Oh, it was a horrible dream. Oh, what a horrible dream. Show me what happens next.
And she wakes up, says 14, says, Mommy, I had a horrible dream. She wakes up, and she wakes up, she says, sitting down. she was watching TV.
What's Hannah doll feeling now?
She's very happy.
And what's she thinking about?
Thinking that about the dream and
Not about the dream. What about Mummy doll? What's she feeling?
she's feeling happy.
And what's she thinking?
She's thinking, how does she get this bad dream?
Right. Okay. Shall we move on to the next story?
So, secure or insecure? I agree. One of the criteria is it coherent? Does it have a beginning, a middle, and an end? Can you understand it? Yes. Does she get comfort from her mother? Does it make it all right? I would say yes. And actually, even though this girl is only 5, she still has an internalized working model of her mother who thinks about her. She says, my mummy is thinking, why do I have this bad dream? So she has in her head and her heart a picture of her parent as somebody who cares for her. So I agree. I would give that. Let's have a look at this boy.
Right, Ricky's on. He's outside on his own. He's playing. What was he playing? He's out on his own.
Squash.
Squash? He plays squash, doesn't he?
Normally squash is like that, but for this boy squashes football.
He's got to pick up against the wall and then when it comes back, this one.
Oh, she's ball against the wall. Okay. So Ricky just playing squash. He's kicking the ball against the wall. He's coming back there and he's kicking it and he's kicking it. He's doing very well because the ball never gets past him. He's kicking it with his left foot and his right foot and his left foot and his right foot. He's getting faster and faster. Then the ball runs off and we have to run after it. And ow! Oh, he falls over. He's backed his knee. Oh! Oh, it says my knee hurts. My knee hurts. Oh, it's bleeding. Show me what happened.
Then he put the fish outside and tried to dry himself. Then he put the TV there, the TV there, and watched TV outside. And then Mummy suddenly hears some bad noise. Yeah, this side wall. Let's wait. Then she's trying to get this out. Then get the throat at the ghost. Then comes on the move, gets changed. Nearly dead. Because there's a ghost there and he never thought there was a ghost in his house. And then this one thing, this up.
You remember you were completing a story, Ricky?
Yeah.
Don't touch the camera, darling.
Where are you?
follow the story? It was a bit chaotic, wasn't it? His mother seems to start by getting a bandage, but it then disappears into a rather crazy story where she falls down and dies, and he seems to be living life on the edge, doesn't he? So we would give that disorganized, absolutely. Okay, but this is just children's stories, isn't it? Does this really relate to anything in real life? It could be what they watched on TV or something, maybe. So the question arises whether it relates to... So we did that with 113 children, and we then got the parents and the teachers to fill in Robert Goodman's Strength and Difficulties questionnaire, and the ones who were insecure had more conduct problems, less pro-social behaviour, and more overall impairment. So this funny little story, where you arouse them to get upset and see what their attachment response is, does predict in 5 and 6 year olds how well they're generally functioning. So I think attachment in childhood does predict attachment. And so there's the question as clinicians, should you be asking them about how they get on with their mother and maybe do a little role play if you have time. So it does seem to matter. So the next question is it at this age associated with a kind of parenting that is more sensitive? So now I want you to judge this. We developed a measure called the CARP. It's a kind of fish in England, a carp, but it's the child attachment related parenting. Is there sensitive responding? Does the parent follow the child? And then is the mutuality, that's that lovely dance. You say something, I say something, we have fun, we aha. How much of that, okay? So I want you to tell me, if you like, on a score of 1 to 10, what you would give each of these children's parents. Now, is this the right one?
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Now, Ricky's on. He's outside.
Sorry, let me get it from here then.
Maybe I need a chicken. Chicken.
You don't, I like chickens.
I don't like eat.
Huh?
I like that, but don't eat.
Remember we had that? You put the door in and then you squeeze it and it comes out at the top.
This one.
Let me see. Yeah, that's good.
So first of all, was the mother fairly physically close to her daughter? Was her eye gaze going towards the task? Was there a bit of fun going to and fro? She talked about, oh, when we had this before, and the guy goes, yeah. So on a scale from 0 to 10, how many marks would you give for sensitive responding, the mother? 8, I would agree, yeah. Okay. So that was the girl, interestingly, who was securely attached. Let's look at the boy who we thought was disorganized and see how he gets on with his mother.
The other side. Okay, same thing as you got to that. Right, and you got to do
It's not fun, is it? It's not fun. And she's just sort of like his manager. Do this, do that. It isn't much sensitive responding to him. He seems quite attentive to his mother. So, what do we think? 4 out of 10 or something? We have a coding scheme. But she'll get lower. So it's interesting that the one who has the disorganized attachment there has the less sensitively responding parent. But maybe I just chose those. So let's look at over the whole 113 whether it was true. So yes, the score on sensitive responding did predict attachment security, and that way of looking at things with attachment, not just number of praises, did you give 5 praises to every criticism, the whole global picture of sensitive responding was important in predicting attachment. But when we looked how naughty they were during the sessions, then the social learning theory, how many critical comments there were and how many instructions, that predicted. So I think you need, if you like, a nice pair of glasses, one with the blue lens on the right with the social learning theory, criticisms and praise, and the pink lens on the left where you look at sensitive responding and mutuality. I think both theories are important when you're assessing children. Good. So let's move on now. Let's go through puberty or come up to adolescence. Does attachment security predict anything? And don't forget, if you're asking about the parenting now, maybe it's just a video, if you like, of the current parenting, or is it important? And what kind of parenting predicts security? So then we used something by a guy called Peter Fonagy and colleagues, the child attachment interview. It's like the adult attachment interview. You ask 3 questions about your parent, score them for coherence, and we did this with looked after children as well. I think I've got an example of that.
Right, okay. So, Jordan, this is an interview about you and your family. I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Down. And then can you think of one more thing that you can describe yourself as? Really? And how do you think? Okay. And can you tell me 3 words to describe your relationship with Trish? So what's it like to be with Trish?
Well, she's caring.
Yeah.
She isn't soft, pushover.
Okay. And one more?
She is. I'm happy that she's my mother.
Okay. Okay. So the first one you said was caring. And can you tell me about a time when you felt that she was caring?
Well, it was last year. I was being sick all over the night, and she came and sat in my room next to me and didn't leave me.
Okay. And how did it feel when that happened? Yeah. How do you think Trish felt?
Tired.
Tired. And the second one you said is that she isn't a pushover. Can you tell me an example of her not being, or when you felt that she wasn't being a pushover?
Because she usually lets me watch football, but she might not let me tonight.
Right, okay. Can you think of the last time she wasn't a pushover, or when you felt that she wasn't a pushover?
When she took away my PlayStation for being silly at school.
What would you do?
Take away his PlayStation.
I was just saying stuff like, my name's Jimbo.
Oh, right. And then what happened?
Nothing, and I just got told off and then I got sent back to class.
Okay. And what did Trish do?
Put your PlayStation away.
Oh, right. And how did you feel when that happened? Well, upset. And how did Trish feel, do you think?
She felt that she was doing the right thing.
Yeah. Okay. And the last one you said that you're happy that she's your mother. Can you tell me about a time when you felt that you were happy that she was your mother?
Last Thursday. Because there's this game that she wasn't going to let me have, but because I've been wanting it for a year, she bought it for me.
Okay, and how did that feel?
Good.
Good. How do you think Trish felt?
Happy.
Okay.
So does he give clear examples, or is it all a bit, it's lovely but no good examples? Does he give clear examples? Yes, last Thursday. Do you think that's secure? I thought it was rather poetic that he says, when I was being sick all over the night, that she was there for him. She was there all night. And something I find with all children really is you notice that he didn't like it that she took away his PlayStation, but he attributed a good intention to his mother. She did it because she thought it was the right thing to do. So he was being contained. So yes, we would designate him as secure. Absolutely, I agree with you. And so then we did this with nearly 250 teenagers, and again, attachment secure was related to oppositional aggression, reasonable correlation for developmental psychology, nearly 0.3, and by the teacher as well as by the parent, so it was outside the home thing. Then we had videotapes of how they get on with their parent. Was it just the same as the parenting quality? Well, no, this predicted something over and above the current parenting. Then what kind of parenting was associated with security? Sensitive responding, which is what all the theorists say, but also setting a limit. Children don't like being allowed to run wild. The people who could calmly set limits, that was strongly associated with more secure attachment. So I put it to you that I think attachment is an important concept as you grow up into adolescence. And it's limit setting as well as sensitive responding is important. It's what I call love and limits being important. And okay, so by the time you are a teenager, what predicts it? So this is a follow-up of over 200 children. To begin with, they were 4, 5, and 6, and now they were up to 17. So we're starting with child attachment actually between 10 and 17. And the current sensitive responding, yes, that was related. What was interesting is that the parents were more sensitive. This is just a little 20-minute videotape, sometimes 10 years different, quite strongly correlated. The parents who were sensitive at one age were more likely to be sensitive at the next age. But then when we put them together in a multiple regression, actually my PowerPoint skills are not very good. This became insignificant. What was important was the early sensitive responding was more important for the adolescent, not the current parenting. So put another way, if you've done good stuff when they're younger, even if you have a difficult time in adolescence, that will still be security. But vice versa, if you've had a bad time early and then try and make it up later, it doesn't quite work. Yes, sometimes I show a thing now which says, be nice to your children because they will choose your older people's home. And now to try to persuade the government, I've just recently in the Dear JCPP published a thing which to try and attract attention of the ministers. I called it the cost of love. This was the yearly cost of those children who were secure and insecure. If they were insecure to the mother, they cost more money, but especially to the father, they cost a lot more money to society. So this is trying to make the case that we should invest in supporting parents. Particularly, as I was saying the other day, if you're very busy in working and you leave it to a nanny or a domestic servant, they may not be the best people. They may be good at cleaning, good with the hoover, but maybe not good with the relationship. So that came out last year. And what about the sensitive responding predict? There have been two big American studies, the Minnesota longitudinal study. Sensitive responding age 3 predicts social skills right at the age of 32. How good your relationship with your husband or wife is, how much you trust them, close sensitivity, share experiences. However, there's quite a social class effect. Whereas the bigger study, which is nearly 1,000 from the National Institute for Child Health and Development, found that even across all social classes, it affected your social skills, how well you do in school as well. So if you're more sensitive, your child was doing better in examinations. So it really does predict a lot, sensitivity early on. Okay, so that is the observational stuff. What can we do about it? By the way, there are a lot of rather disreputable attachment therapies. In the US, there have been 6 deaths to attachment therapies. Rolling them up in a carpet to get through, to break through when a nasty child's defensive led to 1 suffocation. Another one, they let them go out in the desert and say, until you say sorry, you're not coming back in, while they died of dehydration. And in England, it is now fashionable to call everything an attachment disorder, so much so that the American Professional Society for Abuse says, although more common diagnoses such as ADHD, conduct disorder, PTSD, may be less exciting, they should be considered first before saying it's due to attachment. That's a very important thing. Okay, so I'm now going to say, because there could be different evidence, it could be that lying them down on the couch and giving them 5 times a week Kleinian therapy would increase their security. You could improve the relationship with a trusting relationship. The evidence such as is doesn't seem to support that. So I'm going to talk about our individual parenting work, group work, and then fostering as the final big gun, if you like. So this was a girl who had been rather abused. She was adopted by her adoptive prospective mother, age 7, but she couldn't let her out of her sight. The girl followed her prospective mother to the toilet even. She wouldn't even let her shut the door in the toilet. She's very anxiously attached. And so the mother was about to say, I'm going to give her back to the agency after 6 months. She's not getting any better. And she'd had various play therapies and talking therapies. But actually our formulation was that she gets so anxious and then the mother comforts her that she never learns independence. So that is what our treatment had to be. So let me show you how anxious this girl is.
Right. What we'd like to do first of all really is just, get you playing together for about sort of 5 minutes, and we're not going to interfere or even say anything. Fine.
How do I get this to show?
And then later on we might just make 1 or 2 comments. Yeah, we'll find it here. But
You see, I haven't changed my trousers in 10 years.
Put it on your hand, yeah. Well, you can have a go at the end, that's usually what we do. If you pop that in your ear, what does it go? No, it doesn't hurt me. What it is a little earbud. Can you explain to she know what it is, so she knows what it is? Don't worry. Don't worry, it's not going to hurt me. All it is a little earbud. Which way does it go? In and down. Right.
What's it doing?
It's a little tiny.
What is it making?
I'm putting a microphone in the mother's ear, but the girl is already very worried.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so that's going to talk to it. What we can do is talk to it. Don't worry. So there we go. I'm not taking you out. I'm staying with you. Alright? So we've got some toys in there. You've got your book. And we'll leave them, as I say, for sort of 5-10 minutes. You probably won't think. And then we'll sit down after that. Alright? Okay. And then we'll come back with that lovely 10 minutes all told. Alright. Okay. There we go. What's the other? What the whisk was? Sorry. It's alright.
Mommy, I'm not taking Mommy.
What's the matter? What's the matter? Let's go. I'm some of some toys. Come on.
So now I'm telling the mother to ignore the distress and distract her by playing.
What should we play with? Come on, so what do you think?
I'm going to tell you what to do and what you want.
Come on, let's look at this. Look. Whoops. Oh, you're playing hotel. Playing hotel. What do you like? You must want
wanted like a little house, didn't you? You wanted to have a house. There we go, look. Look, actually, look at her hair sticking up. Don't you? There we go, look at her lovely skirt there. What should we do with it now? I'll tell you what, you can dress one of them, and I can dress the other one, and we can put them in the hotel.
So gradually her level of crying is going down, and I'm instructing mother, ignore the crying, distract her, which is hard, because as a parent, as a mother, you think, oh, she's upset, I want to comfort my baby, my 7-year-old. But in this case it was not helpful, and it was not a generalised anxiety disorder. She was fine at school. She could even do sleepovers, but it was an attachment thing. And it's difficult, so you have to coach the mother to get out of what I call the attachment domain into an everyday life or a disciplining domain. So she came back 2 weeks later after being told to, said, I can't do it. I feel it's going to damage my child. So I then had to talk to the theory to the mother, saying, it's not going to damage her, she's not going to get an epileptic fit or be ruined inside. And then she said, well, I think she could be being manipulative. I said, I don't think it's conscious. She says, we have long discussions for an hour about this problem, but it doesn't seem to help her. I don't think it's very helpful explaining all these things. It's the way you behave in the relationship. So having then explained that to her, she was happy to carry on, and this is her 3 weeks later. This is me on the telephone, pretending to be her mother's friend, because this was a very difficult situation.
That's gorgeous, darling. Really nice. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I'm going to put some nice, maybe a ribbon in my hair, perhaps. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm encouraging the mother to give a little love darts, as I call them, so that the girl knows she is kept in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, all right then. So I'll call you back later on, maybe. Yeah, all right then. Yeah. What are you doing, darling?
I'm just waiting for the thing so I can ask you which ribbon you want.
Oh, okay, fair enough. You won't be a moment anyway, thank you. Yeah, okay.
So did you notice she's calmer, she's now getting a secure base? She said, I'm waiting for you to finish your phone call. Before she was so jealous of her mother talking to somebody else. So this way is one way of treating this particular kind of attachment problem quite quickly, and I'm pleased to say after that the mother felt she could adopt this girl, and they have now been living together happily for several years. Okay. So then there is a question whether we do ordinary, more behaviourally based group, whether that would increase sensitive responding. So we use the same videotapes in a trial called the Primary Age Learning Study in a very culturally diverse part of London. The majority were West African or of Indian and Asian background parents. And sensitive responding did increase pre to post, although the security rating by the Dalton did not. So the control group are in the front, they're getting slightly less sensitive 1 year later, but the intervention group in the background are becoming more sensitive. So you can teach sensitive responding even a bit older, and other people have shown this. So last of all, I want to talk to you about whether once you have had early abuse, is it finished? Can you ever learn to trust and love again? Some people would say the first 1,000 days are so crucial that it's pretty much all over by then. You are damaged. I have psychoanalytic colleagues, some of them are very good, but they say they're damaged inside. It's not very nice to be damaged goods, is it? The question is, could there be potential for recovery? So then we took 50 fostered children and who'd been for about 6 months with their foster carers, late place, age 7, after a lot of abuse. The parents were drug abusers in 90% or severe depression. And they'd usually come into care for neglect and abuse. That was the reason. And we had a control group. It doesn't really matter, but they had about 5 times the level. So normal population white bars, our population grey bars, and the national Robert Goodman's adoption study, the orange bars. So they're typical of abused children who come into public care. So now let us look at whether this instrument works. So let's take that same boy. The first one was actually his foster mother. The one who said, she's there for me when I'm sick all over the night. Let us try and see what he is like when he is talking about his birth mother.
Right, okay. So, Jordan, this is an interview about you and your family. I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself first, and then I'll
Ask me. Yeah.
Mum, but that next one. Now, what?
Why?
Did you ever meet him?
No.
Maybe you've never seen him. Can you tell me 3 words to describe what it was like to be with your mum, your birth mum?
Upsetting.
Okay. Upsetting.
Angry.
Hungry. One more?
Worried.
Okay, so the first one you said was upsetting. Can you tell me about a time when you felt that it was upsetting to be with her?
Because she used to hit me.
Okay.
Next one.
That next one. No, what? Okay, how did it feel when she hit you?
Bad. Next one.
How do you think she felt?
I am a clue.
Okay. Next one. Yeah, the next one you said was angry. Can you tell me about a time when you felt angry being with her?
Because she had let me down so many times.
Can you think of a specific time? Or just an example that stands out?
Next.
She let him down so many times.
Because I told you this.
What? Angry. Okay. And how do you think she felt?
Disappointed. I felt angry.
You felt angry. Yeah, and how did your mum feel?
Disappointed that I was angry.
Angry. Okay. And the last one you said was worried. Can you tell me about a time when you felt worried with her?
No. Because she used to take drugs, so that worried me a bit.
Okay. And how did it feel then?
Upsetting.
How do you think your mum felt?
Happy.
Okay.
Excellent.
So I find it painful each time I watch that, that he's disappointed his mother was never there for him. She was taking drugs, so he knew that she felt happy. So secure or insecure? Insecure. She's not there for him. And that shows that this instrument is quite good, I think, at detecting what it should detect. So this is the attachment security to the birth parents between children who've been abused, fostered. So the fostered children, so the normal kids were at least 60% secure to their mother and about 44% to the father, whereas in the abused ones, 0% to the father and only 10% to the mother. So as you might expect, they do not trust abusive parents. But the big question is, can they learn to love again? Can they learn to love their foster parents? And actually, this is within. So again, the birth parents, this is with the same person. The red bars are to their birth mother, and this is to their foster carer. So they're indistinguishable from normally developing kids who are not all secure. So they could learn to become securely attached again. So foster care is a very good treatment for insecure attachment when you've had abusive parenting. What was associated with security? A longer time getting the good stuff, and we videotape the foster carers with the warmer, more sensitive caregiving. Those are the two main things. So we found that foster care is quite good in England, actually, and you can form new relationships even when you are late placed. And the more you can make the more sensitive foster carers have more secure kids. And by the way, the abused kids, we were hearing about this morning from Paul Planer, you and I have this session of a high cortisol to get going in the morning, and we go down at night unless we're listening to the disco birds on the Nile. And the abused ones, there are two patterns actually, a chronically elevated or a flattened, burnt out one. But again, the good news is that foster care reverses this. After 6 months, they're back to a normal cortisol secretion pattern. Last of all, to say, even if you're in a foster care group, we have groups for foster carers to try and make them even better. We've developed a program called Fostering Changes. It's 12 sessions of 2 hours. The foster carers come. We did a small randomized controlled trial with 113 kids split in half from 60 foster carers. I love simple research. This is a pen and paper. What is the worst problem? Wetting the bed, shouting at me, not playing nicely with his brother. I have a 10 centimetre ruler, 0 at one end, not a problem one end, couldn't be worse at the other, and the parent goes. At the end, after 3 months, you give the same thing, see where the line is. Nice, simple, personalised research. After all, what matters to the parents is their particular problem. I don't think you'll hear them on the bus saying, I'm so pleased my SDQ score went down 1 point. They're interested in their personal problems. And in this RCT, again, the control group are in the blue bars at the back. The intervention came down significantly, so they had fewer problems. We couldn't find a good instrument that's quick to feel for attachment, so we developed our own thing called the Quality Attachment Relationships Questionnaires. Questions like, do they come to your help if they are stressed? Do they come close to you? Will they talk in a confidential way about what's worrying them? Will they let you hug them? Will they hug you? Can they accept praise? So this is what we asked. So for short, it is the quark. I like that because in subatomic physics, the quark is the heart of the matter. It's the heart of all being. So I thought this is a nice name for this. And this morning, your distinguished professor who had 60 years of psychiatry was talking about me being a tall psychiatrist, and was I good at basketball? Another reason I called it a quark is because that was my father who was a physicist. But this son of mine is even taller. I'm very upset. He's 2 millimeters taller than me. But as your colleague suggested, he is very good at basketball. This is him with his basketball team. Easy to see he's the only whitey boy in the black team. And I could not do the maths, but he is also a theoretical physicist. That is the Large Hadron Collider where he works in Geneva. And I can't understand those equations of either my father or my son. So I thought I'd put that in as a nice comment by your colleague. Okay, and so would this program improve attachment? Yes, attachment improved as the parents measured the child. And the carers did say his ability to talk about his feelings, his response to praise, he can accept boundaries. And they said, I feel more confident as a parent, as a foster carer. I've learnt new skills. And these are not just selected, they did not say any negative things, I promise you. So, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Scott. I think we had a lovely plenary today. Brainstorming. So I think we were moving to our next session.